All right, we're live. All right, so it is what Monday. It's Wednesday, May 6th. I am Brian Fanzo, known as iSocialFans on the Twitters, and
Woo!
we're talking live streaming. Introduce yourself, my friend.
What's up, Brian? Thanks for having me. I am Mark Kaye at Mark Kaye Show, MarkKayeShow on Twitter and Periscope. Thanks for having me. This is exciting.
Yeah, this is fun. So this is, I think, I call this. I usually say it's the true power of social, right? We're talking, engaging on different channels, and then say, hey, why don't we have a discussion, debate on what we were kind of talking about in our own spaces. We put together a time and threw it together. Yeah, so omni-channel as omni-channel can get. That's for sure. Let me hold on one sec. All right, cool. So yeah, so give me I don't know too much about you. I know enough that from watching some of your Periscopes, but give audience a little bit about yourself, and I'll do the same, and we can kind of get into discussion.
Yeah, that'd be great. No, first of all, I'm a radio host by trade. I have a couple of shows. One's nationally syndicated, the Mark Kaye Show, which you can hear all over the country. And I also have a Snapchat show, which has grown in popularity in the last 6 months. A lot of people know me from my Snapchat show where I interview celebrities and famous Snapchatters and Vine stars and YouTubers, and that's a lot of fun. And then recently I adopted Periscope, which has just taken off for me. I am on the most beloved list, which is great. And that's where we met yesterday. I was talking about some of the Kayvon comments after the big TechCrunch disrupt, and you popped in and took umbrage with some of my statements, and that's why we're here today.
Yes, and I've been watching some of yours on Periscope as well. I've actually been on Periscope for a while. So I am the founder and a partner in a media hub company. So we do Twitter chat hangouts that are sponsored. We do influencer work. I have 2 podcasts. One called Smack Talk, which stands for Social, Mobile, Analytics, and Cloud, which is really my opportunity to get my geek on from a standpoint of talking true technology. And then iSocial Talks. And I've actually been on Meerkat since March 2nd. I was at Mobile World Congress over in Barcelona at an event when it actually came out. And I took advantage of, I was at South by Southwest for 8 days when it was out as well. So I live streamed, of course, from there each day. And I was actually at an event, Social Media Marketing World. Actually, I was leaving the event and leaving the bar. I think it was about 2:08 in the morning when I got a push notification that said Periscope had hit the Apple Store. So as funny as that works, is I actually jumped on it, standing in the parking lot of a Hyatt hotel in San Diego when I was on there. So part of what we were discussing, or part of the discussion is, I know you're a Periscope user. You have 2.4 million hearts or 2.4 million points on Periscope. You're on there all the time providing advice and tips. And I use both of the platforms pretty regularly. I actually usually do a lot of live streaming dually. I like both of them for different reasons. I've been a huge Meerkat fan for a lot of the Meerkat, the options and features that I really like, but I also think the use cases on both sides. So I'd love to hear just kind of your experience and thoughts on Periscope, and maybe, we'll kind of start it from there. I think part of it will be kind of educating people on what we like on both, and then kind of having an active debate after that.
Yeah, knockdown dragout. I love it. I used Meerkat the first week or two. In fact, what I do is kind of unique. I take my radio show on Sunday nights and I pump it into the phone. So my very first week on Meerkat, I went in Sunday. I plugged the radio station right in there, and I got to broadcast not just what I was saying, but any audio clips I was playing. Listeners who called in from all over the country got to be broadcast as well on Meerkat. So it was really a way for me to expand my audience into a national and really international audience. That later that week, I was speaking at a conference in Orlando. My company hired me to come out and talk to hundreds of broadcasters about using Snapchat in relationship to radio and television. And that morning was the morning. I wasn't up at 2:08. I was up at 7 a.m. I saw the same push notification. So you got like 5 hours on me. But I saw Periscope was out. I downloaded it immediately, and I spent the entire day on Periscope. For whatever reason, whatever the interface, the hearts, the cleanliness of it, the uniqueness of it, maybe just because I had been on there from almost hour one, but it grabbed hold of me, and every shortcoming that it had compared to the shortcomings Meerkat had were easily more forgiven for me in Periscope. And ever since then, I've become a power user. I've logged on to Meerkat a couple times. I still like to watch Nicholas McGallis every now and then. I'm waiting for him to make the leap over. But in my eyes, Periscope has just dominated the live streaming trend, and not just in the media, but also in my personal life. And that's kind of where I stand today. Of the two, it is definitely my preference.
So yeah, so I have kind of an interesting story on that from as well, because I was a big Meerkat user, but I have worked with Twitter through a couple different clients,
Sure.
and I was aware of Periscope coming out, and I was on the record adamantly and telling everybody, even though I was on the leaderboard, loving Meerkat at South by Southwest, that I would go all hardcore Periscope. I would actually delete Meerkat off my phone, and I did. So it was day 2 of Periscope. I actually deleted Meerkat completely from my phone. I spent about 4 days only using Periscope, jumping on Periscope. Loved the UI, loved a lot of the things on there. But for me, there was, and kind of the opposite side of yours. Because I do my podcast and I do a video blog, this was natural.
Yeah.
So this is what I do. And because I speak at events like yourself, it's kind of one of those live streaming, raw, authentic pieces. But I also love to kind of leverage the data and kind of take things beyond, like, kind of, I call it bridging communities. So my problem when I came on Periscope is I kind of felt like I was living in an ecosystem that was only living in that one app. Like, it really kind of, it was hard for me to kind of not only drive conversation, but not being able to schedule posts, not being able to push some of that data to Twitter. So some of these things that I felt like I would easily give up on Meerkat, I was like, after about the 4th day, I said, you know what, I'm gonna put Meerkat back on. I'm gonna start engaging and seeing, using both of them. So since then I've actually used both of them almost in conjunction. I've done some solo Meerkats as well as some solo Periscope, trying to do some true A/B testing. But for me, part of it is the community around the two. So I know Periscope definitely has a jump. It has tons of engagement, tons of content on there. But one of the things that really kind of draws me from a Meerkat perspective is I don't buy into the big boy, little boy kind of back and forth element. But Meerkat definitely, from an engagement from executives and their team and the power users, it definitely seems like a community that's engaging and sharing each other's stuff. Is that happening on Periscope and maybe I'm not seeing it? Because for me, that's kind of been one of the bigger, I would say, non-product features that I really love about the Meerkat community.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the thing I've noticed as far as the power users go is they are so generous with information, and the ability to collaborate so that everyone succeeds. It's something I see on Snapchat. The reason I was able to jump on Snapchat and become, Snapchat famous is because I immediately started collaborating with Sean Duras and Michael Platko and all the big name, Christopher Carmichael. And that happened almost instantaneously on Periscope, where people are, I guess it was so new that everybody was trying to figure out, where they were going. People like Alex Pettit and even Bradman and Mark Shaw in London. And now you have this group of people who are on the leaderboard or on the most beloved list, and they are also friends and share information. And it seems to me like maybe just because I am a big part of that community, that there is a community element. And not to say that that's not there on Meerkat, but from what I found on Meerkat, at least in the little time that I used it regularly, was you had a lot more of these celebrities using it to broadcast. Jimmy Fallon, for example, coming on there and doing his pre-show, and it seemed, hey, this is great. This is a fantastic way for me to interact. But then with Periscope, you've got the hearts coming from your audience. You've got the comments coming from your audience. You've got Andy Cohen from Bravo, who's answering questions in the cab. And it seems to me that Periscope is actually a more intimate setting, even though it's part of a much larger network of Twitter. So that's interesting. Two different viewpoints, probably from two different experiences.
Yeah, for sure. No, and I do. Part of I think the celebrity angle is a little interesting one, because I think because Meerkat was the first one out there, I think the true celebrities that got on there didn't. I keep calling it, and I'll be interested to hear what your labeling of these is. I call it mobile live broadcasting rather than live streaming. So when I think of streaming, I think of someone sticking a camera over top of a club and they're live streaming something, or live streaming a concert, and there's not that engagement, that back and forth conversation, which I think is the true power of both of these tools. And I think you're right. Some of the early on adopters would just kind of point it at them, the rear-facing camera, right, and start just streaming the rear-facing camera more so than actually engaging. And so, but I mean, kind of when I kind of take the two apart, or when I kind of build them down, and I give you how I leverage the tools and how I use them. Because of the ability to everybody that comments on Meerkat gets pushed to Twitter, what I actually do is I take everybody that comments on my Meerkat sessions and I put them into a private list. I then upload that private list into a tool that allows me to better understand my audience. I was amazed how many people found me first on Meerkat before they knew me on Twitter. Not saying I'm that popular on Twitter, but I have 37,000 followers on Twitter, 36,000 followers on Twitter. to me, I was blown away how many people found me first on Meerkat before ever knowing me on Twitter. Where Periscope, I feel like I was truly pulling my existing Twitter audience, which I'm perfectly fine with both options. But for me, taking that data, bridging that gap onto Twitter, allowing me to kind of have a conversation outside of Periscope has been a big piece for me, because I've tried on Periscope. So what I've been doing on Periscope is I actually go into the replay, whoever's watched it, and I go through and take those Twitter handles and manually enter them into my Twitter list so that I can kind of do the exact same thing. But for me, part of this is, and this is my impression of it, when someone does the hearts, really the hearts is really the only person that gains from the hearts is the streamer itself. But when someone swipes to the right on Periscope, they can share the broadcast with their followers. But the part of that is it only shares with your followers that are in the Periscope app, and it's a mobile push. When someone hits retweet on Meerkat, it actually posted the Twitter, retweeting it to all of their Twitter audience. So for me, I think the ability to sprawl and have that kind of feeling of where they're pulling in audiences that maybe aren't on the app or don't have the app downloaded, but now know about it and come in, has been way more powerful on Meerkat. How do you kind of bridge that gap outside of just the one push notification that you're doing on Periscope?
Yeah, the thing with Meerkat, and what you say was a great tool. A lot of people, myself included, said it was really annoying, and that's the fact that every single comment became a tweet, and I didn't understand the reason for that. When I went back to my Twitter and I looked at all these comments, I thought, look how popular I am, but it's totally out of context, and that's something that, of course, Periscope doesn't do. Periscope also gives you the option to tweet or not tweet your broadcast. You can turn that on and off, which is a great option because some people don't like to tweet out their broadcast link. Some people do, and you can control that in Periscope. As far as discovery and getting followers, again, I lucked out from day one. I knew that I needed to be an early adopter and use this app like there's no tomorrow, and I got on that most beloved list. And that's a great way to get followers because, of course, new users get on there and go, okay, these people are loved. I'm just going to follow them all. That helped me. But the one thing that really helps me is the title. When you have a worldwide reach of people, and you can be on the worldwide list of Periscope as soon as you start your live broadcast. But it really helps me write compelling titles using hashtags appropriately, because since it is Twitter based, hashtags work. Anyone, you go to the most popular hashtags or the top trending, you can use those hashtags in your Periscope title. And that's another great way to get people to find your broadcast. Now, once they find you, you've got to verbally manipulate them into following you. Say, hey, look, if you don't follow me, swipe right and follow me. If you don't, if you can, swipe right and share with your followers. But, it seems to me like if you have quality content and you're delivering whatever it says in your headline, then you're going to get those followers. It's not as much of a viral spread as you said with Meerkat, but then again, you're talking to a much bigger audience with Periscope because of the Twitter interface.
So I mean, but I will challenge that. So the broader audience. I mean, I'm able to leverage every Twitter user that's not on Periscope. You don't have to be on Periscope to even be part of the conversation. And I think this is a clarity that I think we all kind of have to, because the Meerkat commenting thing, because it's an @ mention, it's a direct @ mention. The only actual people that see every comment, if someone's following, is if they have two people in common, me, the streamer, and the person that's commenting. So in the normal Twitter feed, unless it's Gary Vaynerchuk, Gary Vaynerchuk's on there, everybody's following him, everybody who comments, you see all of those. But the ability to actually see the conversation below the tweet is actually something that I leverage. I think it's powerful, but I do understand some people that don't want to push it to that piece. So I think being able to throttle it on and off is definitely one that's interesting. But I argue that the reason that I can kind of grow my following unlimited, because I mean, Twitter is my home. Twitter's
right.
What I made my business on. And I would love to hear more on the Snapchat thing, because I've been loving some great tools and great people that I work with that are using Snapchat. I think Snapchat is a great tool. I'm sure you agree that it's not the exact same medium, and everyone that kind of tries to compare these two live streaming tools to that platform are really just disconnected from the value of Snapchat. But one of the things that I kind of love that I've bothered me on the Periscope side is when it comes to that, the most beloved list, is that based on hearts? Is it based on number of streams? What is that? Because for me, I think part of that, what it looked like, and this is a misconception, I think, just like clout score, I feel like part of it kind of assumed that it was gamed. And I flip it the other way, because I was an early adopter of Meerkat. I happened to be at South by Southwest. I leveraged that. I've been on the leaderboard ever since. I was on the leaderboard top 8. I think I'm the 25 now or so. So I leveraged that from a standpoint of being very easily having that as an advantage. But for the difference, I feel is that someone can only like and retweet once on Meerkat. Therefore, you really get two options to say, this is a great broadcast, almost kind of keeping everybody on the platform. On Hearts, there was a limitation of like 500 hearts per. I think they even lifted that now. From the Hearts aspect, how does that really show or explain value of the most beloved I guess Periscope, or is it more whoever has people that has asked for the most hearts and someone can do 500 and have their friends jumping on there? I guess that's part of it for me.
Yeah, let me talk about, I know the hearts is a huge question. There is still a 500 heart limit. People have been going back and forth on that, but we've done testing. I have a whole Periscope lab. We have friends that go back and forth. 500 heart limit per user per entry into a broadcast. So you'd have to leave and come back if you want to get more. 500 heart limit per user per entry into a replay. So you would have to leave and come back to the replay if you want to give more hearts. And people do that, especially if they love the content. As far as the benefit of hearts, and this is something, I've been using this app since day one for over a month now, or a little over a month. And I just learned yesterday at the TechCrunch Disrupt what the hearts were designed for. When Kaye was up there, he said, look, the reason we designed hearts was to train people to be better broadcasters. Because when you give Joe Schmo, American public, the opportunity to take our app and broadcast with it, they're going to basically broadcast a bunch of crap. They're not professional broadcasters. 99.9% of the people are not professional performers. They have no idea what they're doing. The hearts are I guess they're an installed application that helps you become a better broadcaster by building your confidence. It's not a red blinking light that says you're on the air, talk. So you get, so you freeze. It's these little pastel cute hearts that everyone can associate with love. And the more hearts you get, the more confident you get. And their hope was that the hearts would make people better at periscoping so that Periscope would continue to grow, which is true. If it was just a bunch of junk, no one would go to the Periscope streams.
I agree. And I thought he killed it on the tech, because I thought I can't remember the lady's name who was asking him the questions. I thought she was horrible when she was. Every question was biased. She was like, well, how is this any different? Why would this be someone want to do this instead of live? Why would they watch this instead of their TV? She was disconnected. I thought the Periscope, I thought he did a really great job of really explaining the live media. I agree with him and I agree with you on the statement that, part of why I think you and I kind of grasped to it and kind of taken a hold is this is part of what we've always done. We've stand in front of people, talk for a living. We live in this space. There's other people that kind of jumped on it, kind of got the buzz, rode the fear of missing out wave, and then all of a sudden realized they're not providing any value. They're literally having a live stream of them eating food. That's eventually people are just going to stop paying attention. Once people get over this whole, hey, I have to watch something because I want to watch something, I think that goes away fairly easy. And I agree with you. And on Meerkat, they actually added that if you use an emoji, the emoji actually comes across the top of the screen from any of the viewers. So very similar to Hearts, someone can give you a thumbs up, use the thumbs up emoji, and you actually see that. So it kind of gives you encouragement as well as using, thumbs down. And at first I was like, I remember even reaching out to Niv on the Meerkat team going, I'm not too sure about this emoji idea, but I did like the idea it was almost like non-engaged feedback or raw feedback. That I kind of really liked. But one of the things I guess from a Periscope perspective is I feel it's really, and I remember I like both of these tools. I'm not, all of my presentations, I've been working with two Fortune 50 brands on a video strategy, and I focus on a philosophy and a strategy that is app agnostic. So I don't want them to focus on just a Meerkat strategy, just a Periscope one.
App agnostic, I like that. That's good.
Because especially honestly, when there's gonna be a third one coming up, there'll be plenty of more tools and technology changes. But for me, one of the other parts of that is that the need for, I guess, the learning curve. There's tons of people on Periscope. I give that without question. But I think there's also tons of people that kind of just don't get it, where I feel finding people that do get it has been a little bit more difficult, where I feel like on Meerkat, what I've kind of come across is there's some people that are trial and error and kind of going on, throughout, but from a standpoint of being able to schedule within 24 hours and being able to see kind of like those that are consistently providing content, it seems to be a lot easier to kind of, I guess, find and grab from a Meerkat perspective.
Yeah, you talk about the scheduling, and the thing I like better about Periscope is the replay, because scheduling is still a schedule, and not everyone can meet your schedule. That's the big problem. That's why, and Annette, you bring up Snapchat, which is my home base. That's where my number one priority goes, and that's where all of not all, but the majority of my audience comes from, with the exception of the radio. And I guess the parallels between Snapchat and Periscope really drew me in there. And that 24-hour replay, you have 24 hours to watch this, and then it's gone. That is so simple. That's ripped right out of the Snapchat playbook. Scheduling on Meerkat doesn't help me, because I'm a spontaneous person. Sometimes I come up with a thought, I want to jump on there, and I need to make sure that I grab people. If I say at 5 o'clock I'm going to do this, well, if people still have something to do at 5 o'clock, odds are they're not going to change their schedule. But if they see, oh, Mark Kaye's doing this really great thing right now, I'm going to miss it, but I can go back later and watch it. That is super helpful. And part of the reason I'm on the most beloved list is because of those replays. A ton, I would say a third of my 2.5 million hearts come from the replay. The ability for people to go back and watch what you did on their time. And with Meerkat, you don't have that. It's still your time. And hey, you know what? If you can't be on my schedule, you're going to miss out. You can't.
And I like the replay as well. And actually, I like because so every Meerkat that I've done since March 22nd has been captured using the Catch app, KATCH. Okay. And I have that recorded. The difference is there's a couple of those that got 300 plus views on YouTube, which doesn't give me any love on Meerkat, right? It's a disconnect. It's a pass through. So I do love that the replay being natively in the app, being able to, the recent broadcast updates, I think was a huge win. I think that is actually one of the better updates that I've seen from Periscope. But on that same note, here's how I look at scheduling. Scheduling gives me the ability to not only notify my followers, but it's appointment, but you don't have to schedule, and you can only schedule 24 hours out. And I reached out, I was on a rant last night, and I said, don't ever change that. Don't ever give anybody the ability to schedule more than 24 hours, because this is how I think of it. Just like Snapchat, the difference between, I think, Snapchat and live streaming, in my opinion, is Snapchat is a controlled attention, right? You have to have your finger on the button. Yeah. I love that from a marketer's perspective, but I also just love it from a content consumption, because they have to be in the moment, but they can be in the moment whenever they get to it, right? Which is a little bit different than the streaming, because when we go live with this, if they're not watching this live, they have 24 hours to watch it on Periscope. They have, they can watch any of my replays on Catch that are, up on a landing page. But for the most part, from a standpoint of this is that true, authentic, real engagement, what the schedule has given me the ability to do is to give people the ability to make an appointment for it's that because here's the deal. We all have crazy calendars. Right. And if I was able to schedule this for 7 days like Google Hangouts, I do 3 Google Hangouts a week, every week, Google Hangout on air. And I struggle oftentimes to get more than 350 people to watch that every week. And I schedule it. It's the same time every week. Now, a scheduled Meerkat, I will get 300, 400 Meerkat people to watch it because it's at 24 hours. It's like, oh, well, I can just leave work early and make that appointment. Now, it's not, you don't have to, but for me, that ability to schedule also gives me the ability, I take that link and post it on LinkedIn, Google+, and Facebook. And that alone has allowed me to kind of broaden my audience as well. So the ability to schedule, I don't look at it as making people change their schedule. I actually look at it using it as my ability to actually market myself in a close-sized window that allow people to change their schedule to adapt to me, where Periscope, I'd have no way other than saying, just sending out a blanket tweet and saying, hey, guys, I'm planning on doing 2 Periscopes in the next hour.
Well, that's not 100% true. You don't have the ability that Meerkat gives you to schedule and leave up the placard and say, here's what's coming up, all that kind of stuff. But just like, with my radio show, I'm on the air every day from 5:30 to 10 a.m. And I don't tweet about that. I don't Periscope about that. People know it because it's a set schedule. Yeah, if you set a schedule on any platform, you're going to get an audience that learns that schedule and knows it. But on Periscope, there have been often times when I say, hey, look, it's 12:25 right now. I'm going to end this broadcast and I'll be back in 30 minutes. Or, I've set a broadcast and it's just my computer screen saying tune in at 2. You can use Twitter. You can use LinkedIn. You have all these, you can use Facebook. You have all these options to not schedule the way Meerkat does, but to let your audience know when you're going to be somewhere. And, a lot of the top Periscopers have the same numbers, 300, 400, 500 people popping into their streams. And that's just people that are spontaneously jumping in. You get the little notification, and it's all about your content and becoming a must-see Periscoper. If you're must-see TV or must-see Periscope, then somebody's going to get that notification, and I don't care what they're doing. They're at least going to peek. And that's what I think I love most about Periscope is it's that reputation. The people that I watch are the people that are really good or have something that's going to, make my life better. The people that watch me say the same thing about me, and we really build that, that Seth Godin tribe, that bond. And I think,
I believe that too, because Gary Vaynerchuk says all the time, if you create great content, people will freaking find it, right?
Absolutely.
Great content does it. But so here on that same note, and I'm curious, this is probably my number one complaint about Periscope is the comments going away as fast as they do and not being able to scroll comments. Because let's be honest, you and I talk fast. We also are engaged and passionate. being able to track those comments almost make it like I mean, I have ADHD to begin with. I almost feel like I have to rush to see all those fading away. And on Meerkat, not only do they get pushed to Twitter, giving me another option. Like, you should see me at South by Southwest. I had my iPhone on a selfie stick. I had my iPad sitting down here because I couldn't read the comments because I wanted it out so people could see South by Southwest. So I read all the comments on my iPad because they were getting pushed to Twitter while still doing the broadcast. But for me, the commenting on Periscope, because it dissolves it almost a Snapchat type way, makes it so hard to do kind of, I'd say, add a true rant value and engage. Because don't you feel like you're missing? I mean, I was on my favorite Periscoper is Robert Flores of SportsCenter. I love how he's using it. He's killing it every night. As soon as the commercials come on, he flips it on, he answers questions, show people the shot sheets. But he said 3 times last night on his Periscope, people, please stop asking the same question. But the reason they're asking the same question is because it's coming on, those comments are coming on the screen so freaking fast. So I mean, you have to agree the Meerkat ability to scroll comments and keep them in your feed is a feature that, I mean, Periscope has to adopt.
I mean, and they will. I believe there's plans coming out in the next version. I mean, that's the thing about these apps is there's always a consistent version. If you look at Angry Birds today as opposed to Angry Birds 4 years ago, I mean, come on, there's thousands of levels and tons of differences in Star Wars characters and whatever. So these adaptations and these upgrades are coming, I'm sure, as users demand them. The thing with Periscope is when the comments go by, I mean, not everybody has that problem. Popular people have that problem. If your comments are going so fast that you can't read them, that's a good problem to have. There's no way to scroll back. It's kind of a bummer. If you really want to get in touch with someone, like you said, you have that replay for 24 hours. You can go back. I've picked up on comments that I've missed. I mean, I think even on Meerkat, if you go and scroll back, there's no way to get every comment, especially if you have hundreds of people in your broadcast. It's just, it's not going to happen.
I would argue that every comment, but I mean, like just the ability to actually even pause the comments. And I mean, for example, I was live streaming I was hosting one of the event in San Jose, and we were doing robotics and Internet of Things. And I was using Periscope, and I had 785 people watching at one point, and the comments were going so fast. I mean, that is a good problem to have, right? But part of that, from my perspective, and I actually went back and watched the replay because, like you, I wanted to comment with these questions afterwards, is I had no ability to actually even see where in the replay they were, the people that were watching the replay, where they paused or how far they watched. Because part of what I think this is kind of one of the things that I've been trying really hard to leverage this data, is I take all of the Meerkat engagement, every single one of them, from a social perspective, and I put it into tools so I want to better understand my audience. Because to your point, the title makes a big difference. But honestly, if you're providing great value, the title, the fact they continue to follow you, because the worst thing you can do is suck for enough time to hit unfollow, because then you've lost any chance of, no good title is going to bring them back, even if they've unfollowed you. But for me, what I'm able to do is I think there's a distinct difference on what Meerkat audience, or not Meerkat, let's talk about mobile live broadcasting, what they like to consume versus even what I provide on Twitter. I mean, I average 1,200 tweets a week on Twitter, and of those 1,200, only about 140 are actually scheduled. So I do a crap load of engagements, part of my job, part of what my company's building. But at the same time, being able to take that data and build a community around it that's much bigger than one app is something that has really made me fall in love with the fact that I can push that to Twitter. And I have that option, right? From a Periscope perspective, how do you bridge the community of people that are on there? Because even the ability to have a call to action when you end the Meerkat. I mean, the company that yesterday when like I said, I focus on both apps. I like both of the apps. The ability to call to action at the end of the Meerkat. So when Meerkat ends, it pops up with a button that you're able to customize with any link of your choice. That call to action allows people to kind of go into your next world. So I was actually I've been tracing that data, like you said. I have a couple A/B testing, and I was getting, I had a couple Meerkat sessions that were 15 minutes long. 86 people joined it. I had 42 clicks on the call to action to follow me on Instagram. Right, so I'm now building additional relationships.
Yeah, that's great.
What I kind of feel on Periscope is because the share broadcast only shares it to people that are all the followers that are on Periscope, right? It doesn't share it to their followers that are on Twitter. I feel like that kind of limits my audience reach and the ability, because I care a lot less about how many hearts are on the leaderboard. We'd agree on that. It's not about gamifying or begging for those kind of things. What I focus on is, hey, how can I get the most people to watch my feed so I can provide the most value? Not for me to be the most sought after.
Right. Okay. And with Periscope, it's the same thing. In the long run, with any social medium, in the long run, followers are going to be what sustains you. You need the most followers, people who are rabid fans, who are into whatever it is you're producing. They want to consume it. That's the number one. So Periscope followers are the most important, and that's a number everybody should watch and pay attention to. But hearts are a way for Periscope users to get additional followers. They're just one method. Same with the leaderboard on Meerkat. It's one of the few ways that either of these apps have for people to discover new talent and new content that they may really want to consume. That's the thing with hearts. As far as Periscope, and I throw this back again to Snapchat, because Snapchat is now, it's the number 3 app, or the number 3 social media with 18 to 24-year-olds, and there's no linking. There's nothing. You have to have the app. You have to type in the name of the person that you have to find out what their name is, type it in, hit the plus. It is so ridiculously horrible to use. It's not user friendly at all. And the screen cap is the only way you can get information. If I want Instagram followers, I have to write up at Mark Kaye and say, hey, screen cap this, and go to my Instagram, and I do it, and it works. But you know, it gives you real diehard fanatics. People that are willing to take the time to do that are people that aren't just, you know, clicking to follow like on Twitter. Because on Twitter, sure, I've got, I think 25,000 people following me. How many people are engaging with me every day? How many people are ghost followers? How many of those accounts haven't been opened since 2012? I have no idea. With Snapchat, it's not like that. With Periscope, it's definitely not like that. And sure, you can't click a link. You can't share with anyone other than your followers on Periscope, but you can tell people to screen cap. And if that, you know, that's become one of people's best, that's become one of my best friends. People in the comments will also, if you really have a good fan base, whatever you tell them to, you know, I'll say to people, hey, go to my website, markkayshow.com. Somebody type it up. And all of a sudden, 10 people type it up there so people have that information. And it's really building, it's a one-on-one communication to build a tribe. And I think it works better, both of these apps, but I think it works better because people know you're not just in there link baiting. You're not just in there spamming them. There's no way for you to spam. You've got to entertain them.
I agree. Part of the reason I love Snapchat and Instagram, and this is spoken from a tech guy, not a. It's really hard for marketers to ruin those platforms, right? It's really hard for them to get, you know, click through rate and all this nonsense that we've taken the social out of social media in so many ways when we added marketing aspect in there. And I say that with love to all the marketers, but you know, I actually agree with you on the ability to, you know, you are building a loyal fan base. But I also believe, you know, like I would say over the last 2 years, I mean, November of 2013, I had 1,800 followers on Twitter. I now have 35,000. I would argue that almost of that 35,000, I have probably one of the most loyal, you know, fan bases from the standpoint of engagement, sharing content. I mean, my click through, my promote, my amplification is insane, but it's because of how I build it. So I agree with you on how you're building it on.
No, I know they've been retweeting and favoriting that tweet you sent out with the placard all day. So I know you had a huge fan base.
You've seen that, yeah. So part of that. So here's I guess my and back to really what the title of this comment was is. I truly believe that the competition between these apps breeds faster innovation, which really only benefits you and I, the users. So I feel that the blog posts and the comments, and I wrote one of them a long time ago when Periscope first came out too. I don't believe it needs to be Meerkat versus Periscope, and I certainly don't believe Meerkat's dying, because I can attest to that side of it. But from a standpoint of true innovation, I would argue, and I would love to hear Periscope, and I would love to hear Meerkat. There is no way that they're not listening to each other's features. And the fact that Meerkat has the ability to fail fast is way more of an advantage than Periscope has. Periscope has to love that Meerkat is truly testing and failing at a speed that only a startup can do, because, you know, Periscope being attached to Twitter. And I truly think the Periscope interface, the next update, would have sucked without Meerkat today, and I believe that's going to move forward. I think the two of them are needed for each other. Maybe it's a third one, but from your comment of saying Meerkat is dying or dying a slow death, and you even made the comment earlier that you were waiting for someone to jump over, right? You were waiting for them to jump over from one to the other. I actually challenge that and say, why jump over? Why not understand both communities, and when certain mediums, certain platforms dictate which one you're using, jump on that one. I guess for me, saying Meerkat is dying, I'm not sure A, where that came from, and B, from the standpoint of what good does that have, even making that statement, what good does that have for either one of the apps, you know, or from a Periscope growth perspective?
Yeah, well, I mean, when I talk about Meerkat dying a slow death, I mean, it is basically just based on numbers, and you can just go to the App Store to see where they rank. Periscope today is 23. Meerkat is not even in the top 500. And you can't have an app that never broke 140 on the App Store, despite all the press that it got. I mean, you were at South by Southwest. It was everywhere. You couldn't turn on the TV or the radio or go online or go on Twitter without somebody talking about Meerkat. And it still never broke the top 100 on the Apple Store. Periscope comes in, breaks the top 10, has stuck around in the top 50. It's gone up and down. But, for that many new users every day to join an app, that's what you need is sustainable growth. And Meerkat's going the other way. I don't see there being any long-term plan to boost that. Sure, they could get bought out, but to me, getting bought out, it's not Instagram. They're not going to save the brand. The brand isn't as strong as Instagram. Facebook bought Instagram and left it alone because people loved it. They had 100 million users at the time. Meerkat's nowhere near there. If anyone buys it, they're either just going to put it to sleep or they're going to steal the technology and get rid of the name. Google, for example, they could use the technology for themselves and tie it into YouTube. They could tie it into Hangouts. Snapchat, they could buy it out. And they could, use it to make longer form Snapchats. Although, they don't really do that. They just hire away the CEOs of these companies and, rebuild the platform themselves. But I think when you look at the numbers and you look at the downloads since Periscope came out, and the fact that Twitter has been able to use its power, it's a powerful company, to manipulate the image. Even just the past couple of days with the fight, every headline was periscoping the fight. HBO's mad at Periscope because of Game of Thrones. Well, people are meerkatting it too, but nowhere near in the numbers. The public perception isn't there because it's all about Periscope. People are petrified of Periscope because they know it's got the power of Twitter behind it. And eventually...
I agree with the power of Twitter is power. I mean, I want to, and actually, that was part of my original saying. I said it a week before Periscope came out. I said, I love you, Meerkat community, but the day Periscope comes out, I will be jumping ship. And it's because of the Twitter backing. I mean, right. Twitter as a platform, the entire tool, the community that is Twitter, has changed my life, personal and professional life, drastically. So I am a more of a Twitter advocate probably than I even like to admit. But part of what scares me about that conversation is I'm writing a book called The Millennial Mindset. And on my book, I talk about the ability to drive change. And it's no longer about the enterprise versus the startup, because I don't care how much marketing dollars you have. I don't care how much you flood the Apple Store and you tell NBC News, because they have a Twitter contract, to only mention Periscope on the news. Part of that ability, to me, only riles up those of us that kind of believe in the idea that a startup and a power of a community can make a big damn difference. And I think here's something we have to think about when we're talking about these numbers. App downloads do not mean actually active users, and neither one of these apps have reported active users, because I truly would love to. And this is, I think, the reputation of Twitter. There's actually more Twitter users that are lurkers than there are actual users, right? So I know
one of them has my name, and I'm trying to get rid of them.
Oh yeah, trust me. I've actually, one of them has my book title, and they haven't tweeted since 2011.
I hate that.
Yeah, it's driving me crazy. But so I guess from my point on that, I actually don't. I don't take the argument of app downloads. I will take the argument that actually, from a standpoint of, let's say, this is the data that I've been running, is I actually try to do unique links with the hashtag. So, because don't put just the hashtag, because the amount of people and blogs that are being written about Periscope give Periscope, if you just look at the hashtag number comparison, there's going to be more people writing about Periscope today because of the name recognition. Right. But, I mean, let's take, for example, the last night NBC News had their piece where they said Periscope is bringing up privacy issues. Well, first of all, that's crazy, because Ustream has been around a long time, and I could point my damn web camera at any TV since long before Periscope. The fact they blame Periscope, I think, is just an idiotic misunderstanding of what the technology is. But part of that, actually, what I wanted to almost kind of do that is they almost make it because they're kind of pushing themselves to being the only one. Is it giving them the false sense that they don't need to update? Because you made the comment, and this is, I think, probably what got me riled up, is you said that you don't believe Periscope needs to rush out an Android app like they rushed out the initial app, which I agree. I was like completely floored, because I'd signed up for the beta and I expected Periscope a month. I expected Periscope about now, and they gave it to us really raw. But you said, and the comment was, because Meerkat is dying a slow death, even though they have an Android app, there's no reason for Periscope to rush out their Android app. And to me, I actually feel the opposite. I feel it's like, hey, you should learn from the feedback they're getting from the Android community on Meerkat. You should drop an app now out today, because your community wants it. I don't care if it's what your product team feels is best. Today, I really truly think it's the power of community, and the fact that they would take, and I'm not saying they take that approach. Right. Just from the approach to saying, you're not willing to kind of adapt. I love beta testing a lot of things, and lots of people do. Right. And I think that's part of the disconnect, is I think not giving the users feedback to, because this is so brand new and raw. How are you? I mean, I guess from my standpoint, without having an Android app, you're missing probably 50% of the community, and that's tough for me to say as an Android or as a Apple fanboy. But from a standpoint of that comment, from saying like really they don't need to rush one out for Android, even though the community's begging for it, and their competitor, which is still a competitor in the space, I will argue that, is actually using it. Where do you see that, or what's the reason for that?
Well, yeah, when I was quoting Kaye, who was asked that question at the TechCrunch Disrupt, and he said, we don't see the need to rush out an imperfect product. We want the V1 to be the best V1 ever, but which I totally agree with. I mean, you could say, why just get it out there and fix it as we go along, listen to the users, but they don't want to do that. Periscope, when it came out, even though it was earlier than intended, was very polished, and I think a lot of people looked at it and said, wow, this is a lot prettier than Meerkat is. The interface is a lot more user friendly.
I was one of them. I went out and said that, and actually, I love the thing that was missing from Periscope is the Twitter piece, right? I mean, it felt like we got the Periscope app that they bought, right? We didn't get the Twitter ingrained piece of it.
Right.
So I agree.
Right. So now with Android, they're looking at it. There's no credible threat. I mean, Meerkat has a beta Android out there, but they're building up all of this suspense. And from a marketing standpoint, it's really, really actually kind of genius. You look at the Apple model. I mean, the Pebble watch was on Kickstarter 4 years ago, and Apple could have rushed out a watch too, but they said, no, we're going to take our time. And they came up with the perfect smartwatch. They talked about it for 3 months before anyone could even buy it. They put it on sale, and they pretty much sold out the first day. It's a superior product that people waited for, salivated for, because they knew it was coming.
I would argue that Apple has built up a cult following that makes that a luxury. There is not enough apps or companies, and I don't believe Periscope has the ability to be so disconnected from the community standpoint to where they're willing to sacrifice is the wrong word, but they're willing to kind of push off something from a perspective of giving what their users want because of these features. But one of the other things is, so my Periscope account is still screwed up, and I tweeted for 5 days. So this is day 14, where if you look at my Periscope account, it says Brian, and then it has my Twitter handle. It doesn't have my last name. So people actually can't search for me inside of the actual search. They have to follow me on Twitter first. So I have 2,200 or 2,300 followers on Periscope. And I think partially it's because you can't find me if you're looking for me individually. I've tweeted out the support, I've emailed support, and tweeted out their handle, no response. I'm on direct feedback I'm using beta for Meerkat, direct feedback from Meerkat. So for me, that connection to the user is important, and I don't believe Periscope has a brand or cult following, and even Twitter for that matter. I mean, the Twitter user base is growing, but there's the power users like us, and then there's a whole lot of people that just don't get it. I mean,
you're not going to build a cult following too if you throw out a product that's shoddy. If you throw out an Android product and people get on there and it's buggy and it's glitchy and their streams keep crashing and they don't know what they're doing, I mean, that's one way to kill any potential of having a cult follower. If you tell someone download this app and it works like crap, they're not going to come back to it. If you make them wait and you let them hear about it, and then all of a sudden you 3 months later say, look, this app you've been hearing about and wanting and desiring, we hear you, look, it is finally here. First of all, these people are going to rush because they've been salivating to get it. They're going to download it in tremendous numbers. And then when it works as well as it does, they're going to be like, wow, this is worth the wait. Not, what is this crap? It doesn't even work. Oh, don't worry. We've got future versions coming out. We just wanted to get it out to you. That doesn't always work. Sometimes it does if you're a smaller company, but Twitter's not a smaller company. They can wait. They've got the cash. They're not even, no one's making money on this yet. No one's selling these apps. So there's really no need. It's not like they're losing revenue.
Well, so I think they're losing, and honestly, this is even the reverse of it. By not having an option for Android users, people could get on Meerkat, not be happy with the experience, have no option, and become disconnected from the entire live streaming experience. I think part of that, riding the wave is like, hey, if you're gonna ruin someone's taste, and for the point you were saying, kind of like not having a competitor. I mean, this is I'm a huge Steve Jobs fan, but I actually push the envelope on the Steve Jobs quote. I truly believe today you don't know what your fans know or want until you actually give it to them or listen to the community, instead of what the old school way was. They don't know what they want until I give it. If they would have asked for a faster car, I would have given them 4 horses and not a car. From the Henry Ford quote. But I truly feel like part of this disconnect that I kind of feel is it, and it's even from the standpoint of, just because Twitter's backing you, Twitter has some amazing engagement. Like Twitter video is one of my favorite things. It's my favorite. Actually, the quote tweet and the Twitter video are probably 2 of my favorite updates in 3 years.
Right.
right? You know, like they rolled those out really well from a standpoint, but they also did it in a sense where not everyone still has both of those features. Like those features are still in a rollout phase.
Sure.
I kind of feel like Periscope from the standpoint of, I mean, how many updates did they had? 2 in a month. And I mean, the amount of feedback they have to be getting and the renditions, it's almost like they're holding back because it gives that feeling that they know what we want more than we do. And I think that's kind of a scary moment, because today, much different than 2 years ago, I think the ability to actually listen and engage your community can't be underestimated.
No, I'm pretty sure Twitter knows exactly what people are asking for. I mean, people are tweeting about it. They're researching the hashtags. But I mean, it's not that they're not giving people what they want. Yes, there's 1 billion Android users. A large portion of them want the Periscope app, but they want the same Periscope app that we have. And if you don't have it, then and you try to give it to them, you're not giving them what they're asking for. If they're saying we want Periscope for Android and you've got a 2-month-old data that's nowhere near as polished as the iOS version, then don't give it to them, because that's not what they're asking for. You can't give them something you don't have. And I think that their point is, look, we're going to make sure that when it goes to Android and these 1 billion Android users have access to it and they get it, they fall in love with it. Not something that we're going to be like, hey, look, we're giving you this now because you want it. It may not be perfect, but bear with us. It's 2 entirely different business models. It works for some people one way or the other. Apple, again, is the company that I think, I mean, they will wait for years. You know, they have right now they're pretty structured. Every year we know we're going to, but they will wait and they will put in research and development and they will test and they will make sure this thing is picture perfect before we put it out there, because that's how you really build a loyal fan base. You give them something that's awesome. And a lot of times, if you've ever seen a product launch on the web or, you know, even a movie trailer, they'll show the Star Wars movie trailer a year out and they'll say, we know you want this. It's coming in 365 days. Well, I mean, we want it now. It doesn't matter. We're not ready for it. So when it's ready, you'll get it. And that's 365 days from now. I respect
that from now. Okay, so I want to get to we have everybody watching. We have replays. Let's say let's put it out there. We have the founders of Periscope watching, and the founders of Meerkat watching. Let's talk about features. Let's get it out there from a standpoint of you and I both being power users, both being on the platforms. Let's talk. So from a Periscope perspective, what are some of the features that you're dying to see jump on that platform? I think maybe we have the audience, maybe we have the crowd that we can kind of get this motivating in this kind of environment, because I think there's no question you and I have passion for the technology. We have passion for the medium. We believe in this tech. This is I can't stand how many people or message me telling me get off the fad, Brian, and they know I suffer from fear of missing out. So trust me, I've failed with plenty of apps. I've downloaded so many apps that have sucked, and I've jumped all in. And there's the LOs of the world and those kind of things where you're like, oh, this is gonna be. Oh no, it sucked. But I've kind of come over the idea where I'm building business models around this. I'm doing keynotes on it. I've done webinars. So let's drop. Let's just do a little from a feature perspective. What do you can't wait to see for Periscope?
Well, here's the thing. I talk to people on Periscope every day, and I do, like you said, these tips. The one thing, there's 2 things a lot of people really want to see. They want to see the scrolling comments. They want to be able to read every single comment. They don't want to miss a comment. That's huge. That's the number one thing for people, is to be able to make sure that, and that's just about their voice being heard. If you're going to take the time to type a comment, you want to make sure that somebody's going to read it. Makes perfect sense. That's something that we know Periscope is working on. They've mentioned it. The other thing is, for some reason, people want the landscape view. Okay, I mean, that's coming too. We know that. I don't really, again, I'm from Snapchat, and landscape does not work in Snapchat.
I agree. I'm with you. I don't want landscape. Get the hell out. We don't need landscape.
It seems like a waste of time. And then I don't want to have to turn my phone, because I don't hold my phone like this. I hold it like this. I want to do it one-handed when I'm driving. Oops, I didn't say that out loud. Search functionality through Twitter. I mean, yes, there are a lot of things that Meerkat does with the Twitter interface that Periscope could be doing, and making the search function a lot easier. Searching for hashtags, for example, which you still can't do in Periscope. I think all these things, again, are coming. A lot of people have talked about, people that, using a map technology so that you can see where people are. You can find those users who are around you. Again, I believe that all of this is coming. Split screening. People have talked about, can we do, like this? Can we
picture in picture would be amazing.
I would love. I mean, I'm a talk show host. So, I do a talk show on Snapchat. This would be great for me.
Put a TV over my shoulder so that I could give picture in picture to the audiences. I mean, and I agree. I mean, all those, I think in both of those apps, I think need that functionality, right? We need the search. We need the discoverability. Without question, there needs to be a better. Now, here's the thing. One of the things that is interesting. Meerkat being very friendly with the API or with the data being pretty exposed. I mean, I could count. So right now, I had the tabs open last night because I wanted to speak. I think I counted 14 different websites that are leveraging Meerkat data or Meerkat stats or Meerkat user base to actually give you different things. So there's something like Meerkat stats. There's Meerkat streams where you can see everything that's live on the web. There's there's the Meerkat map where it actually gives you the map. There's the one that allows you to do a little bit of the search functionality. That ability for that open API, I think, is crucial because, I mean, Meerkat can't compete dollar for dollar with Twitter, no doubt. And also, it also kind of, that also aroused up because I had 32 developers that worked for me at one time. So I always think like a developer when I'm trying to advocate for them. And I think from a developer's perspective and being able to actually use the data, because to your point, I agree that Twitter is using the hell out of all the data and the feedback. I have no doubt. I actually work with 2 of the data scientists at Twitter, and I love those guys. They're some of the smartest guys out there. For me, part of the disconnect here is if we're not going to be API friendly, we're not going to be allowing kind of the outside world. I know Twitter's sometimes gives the API, sometimes doesn't. They're a little bit different with their fire hose. But from a standpoint, I agree with those features. For me, from a Periscope user, I love, like I said, I'm a fan of Periscope. I'm using it. We're on Periscope right now. You have lots of your fans in my Periscope giving you lots of love. Telling me that I'm crazy when it comes to saying that Meerkat, I enjoy Meerkat as well. But part of that also, it comes into what I mean, I love the ability to limit your comments because the trolls are a little bit outside of craziness. Kudos to Periscope for being able to limit the comment ability, so you have to be following us. I think Meerkat,
and they made it so easy to block people too, which is another huge push.
My favorite Periscope feature is actually the ability to actually click on someone's name that actually comments and then follow them. Meerkat does not give you that ability. That's another feature that I think is crucial in that entire scope. I also like the ability, for me, I want to be able to actually, being able to save to my camera roll is fine. I would like to be able to save my camera roll with the option of keeping my comments. So, Periscope, because like you said, I love the 24-hour replay, but I have the option to download it to my phone because that's actually how I'm doing my podcast now, is I use Periscope. I download it to my camera roll. I upload it into Audacity. I edit it, and then I publish it, and that's all through Periscope. So I'm using Periscope because of the quality of audio and so on. But I truly do feel like I would love the ability to actually be able to keep the comments on the screen because, like we said, the video is really only as powerful as the comments and the engagement that's going on for the most part. I did a long Meerkat last night, the longest one I've ever done, and I laughed because I was like, there is no way anybody should go back and watch this because it is to be able to.
Hold on, let me turn the volume down.
Anyways, I would love to be able to actually take the Periscope's from the Periscope side. I would like to, in the replay, be able to fast forward.
Well, yeah, that's another functionality that we definitely need is to be able to scrub either way, left or right.
I see hi, I'm here on my Periscope. Now, the funny part about that is Periscope is a 2-second delay. Meerkat is like a 15 to 17 seconds. So people would see that now for you compared to Meerkat's delay.
But the other thing is, as far as the functionality of the replay, yes, you cannot see, the comments when you replay. There are ways. Alex Pettit turned me onto this too. If you use QuickTime to screen cap your replay, then guess what? You can save the comments, you can save the hearts, you can save everything. It's another extra step.
So you're screen capping quick play on the browser. So you're watching the replay on a browser,
what you can do is you can plug your iPhone in and use it. If you plug in your Lightning cable, your iPhone can be your camera for QuickTime. And all you do is hit record. Your camera and your microphone are your iPhone. You can record your entire screen. There's another app for the Mac called Reflector. Does the same exact thing. It even gives you the cool iPhone outline. So there are ways to capture all that if you're a power user. Again, the average Joe is not looking to save all that. You and I want to put these things on YouTube and draw hits and build credibility that way too. But I think as far as a one-on-one conversation, if you're going to watch the replay, maybe not seeing all the comments is a good thing. And if that's a lesson to the broadcaster. If I know that people are going to be watching the replay and they're not going to be able to see the comments, then I maybe should repeat that question. It'll teach me to be a better broadcaster and it'll help reset. And I like people that do that. There are people that will just answer questions and you have no idea what the question is because the comment has gone by. It all goes back to public speaking, and this. You do this for a living. If somebody asks you a question in the audience, the first thing you do is say, okay, the question was this, and then you give the answer. And that, again, it's just training people to be better broadcasters.
Oh, trust me. I mean, this is the strategy that I took from it. Is I actually have my community manager that runs my community for my full-time job. She's actually what I qualify her as the greatest Meerkat community manager that exists, probably because she's the only one. Kristen Cardo is my community manager. She actually jumps in and will actually answer people's questions that are asking for links or can you repeat something. She actually comments for me on both Periscope and Meerkat, because leveraging that ability to keep providing value without kind of getting truly sidetracked, I think is something that we truly can't do. So I guess coming back to my side, and even when you said features, right? Maybe I threw it out there for a reason. Part of what you were saying from a standpoint of, hey, these are the features I would love to see in Periscope. Part of that were features that you've seen work on Meerkat, and I think that was back to the whole root of this discussion. And I love the debate. I love an educated debate, and I really appreciate you taking me up on it.
Oh, yeah, no problem.
Part of this was, hey, if we're able to see what's working on both of these apps and leverage both of them, and some people, their community is going to be only on one. Some people are going to be on both. There might be power users that are going to leverage both of them, like the Ashton Kutchers of the world, the celebrities. Right. I kind of disconnect. But from a standpoint of competition, I mean, without Meerkat, I truly feel Periscope's updates and features would suffer in the future without the competition, without someone that is trying to out-innovate them. And it's just like, I feel like iOS. As much as Apple is cocky and holds all that features back and pisses me off as a power user, thank God Android exists, because I think we'd still be waiting for copy and paste on our iPhone today if it wasn't for a competition. So I look at it that way. I look at the need for competition. It's partially what riled me up, because I told you I wanted to get on. I use Periscope. I love the interface. I'm a fan. But part of what riled me up to keep the kind of the community aspect of Meerkat beyond some of the things we've talked about is truly that ability that says, I love what they're doing with failing fast. I believe it's needed in this medium of mobile live broadcasting.
Look, competition is what makes this country great, and it's what breeds technology. I work in the radio industry. Competition is cutthroat. But competition, yes, it means everybody's going to get better. But it also means that somebody eventually could push somebody out of business, and they shouldn't just stick around because it's good for business. In the end, one person can win out over another. We see it with radio stations all the time, TV stations. You see it with technology. I had a flip cam. I loved my flip cam. I told everyone the flip cam is the greatest invention ever. But the iPhone camera surpassed the flip cam. It's there in my phone anyway. Now my flip cam is a doorstop in the studio. It used to be, it cost me $400 for the HD one, and I loved it. Now it's pointless. If someone, I don't even know if there's 1,000 different models of that. The Pebble Watch is probably going to be the next one. It's obsolete. So you're going to see that.
I was a Pebble original Kickstarter, and I'm a Pebble Kickstarter of the next version. But I also did order an Apple Watch to be delivered in June.
See, there you go. So eventually, one company can, overtake the market so much that the other companies are forced out of business. It happens all the time.
So I guess from my side is I don't like the notion, and you didn't give this notion, but I don't like the notion because Periscope is bigger and has the more money, and they're attached, the Twitter back them, that gives them that ultimately they can push anybody out of the market. Because I truly believe the better community, the better technology as a whole, from a connecting to understanding your audience, will win out no matter what the size is. Truly, if you look at Pebble from a standpoint of what Pebble's been able to do to keep around, Samsung's pushed out Watch. We've had Android Wear. We've all of these technologies, and Pebble hasn't wavered from what they're doing, right? So yes, Apple is the trump dog, but I think it's from the sense of, if we look at it this way, I look at it from a stand on. Hey, if we're able to leverage both of these technologies, different communities, different pieces, and we're able to truly push what the features are, because I guarantee both of these companies, I feel bad for both of their customer service departments, because they probably have so many damn requests from everybody that doesn't understand the medium, that people want it to be like Ustream. People want it, the mobile browsing ability. Part of what I love about it is I want people to be on a mobile device when they're watching me on a mobile device, right? That element of it to me is a big deal. It doesn't replace YouTube. It doesn't replace Snapchat. I love that you're on the Snapchat idea. I'd be curious you said from radio. Radio is an interesting one. I'm a podcaster. When I went to go to college, I wanted to be a Sports Center broadcaster. That was my goal. And I did local radio at my college. Love the platform. For me, the barrier to entry was kind of ridiculous. You really had to do it as a full-time job. Podcasting has been my favorite experience in 2 years, because jumping into that platform, I love the new medium. But I also think podcasting actually is making the radio industry kind of tweak and adjust to kind of change what, not only the value they're providing, but you have the serious radios of stuff. And I think that competition is still something that we have to kind of not only respect, but I don't hear many radio people bashing podcasts. And I don't hear many podcasters bashing radio, because I think they both still are kind of working in streams together.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, it's like, live stream, you've got two companies in live streaming and they're going to bash each other. It's just like if you have two radio companies in radio, they're going to bash each other too. It happens all the time. But as far as the technology, radio is not bashing podcasting at all, because it's something that we realize is something we need to embrace. There are technologies that we use. In fact, we're probably 50% of my day is spent creating digital product and not just, an on-air product. It's all coinciding. We're selling as much digital landscape and airspace, if you will, as we do regular traditional terrestrial radio. So there are a lot of things that come together. As far as the Periscope Meerkat thing, yeah, there are differences. Snapchat's a different platform. Everybody in the end is fighting for eyes, and that makes everybody else's competitor. And when I'm on Snapchat, I'm probably competing with my Instagram and I'm competing with my Twitter. My advice to anyone who wants to jump in on this, because Meerkat, yes, they may always be around. They may be probably more of a boutique app. They may be, it may be the hipster selection in the end, where you're sitting around the coffee house with your 5 friends with beards and you're all meerkatting each other. That's great. But Periscope is going to be the huge media conglomerate. I would just advise people, decide what you want to do. And while you should be aware and familiarize yourself with both, if you really want to succeed, pick one and just dive into it. Because that's what I did with Periscope. And that's, if I kept doing both, I don't know that I'd be able to have the kind of reach that I have now. There's just not enough time in the day.
So here's one of so I'm getting lots of comments that are coming back and forth, which I actually think it's pretty interesting. And one of the biggest comments really is coming across is they're asking me how many people are watching on each one, which I actually think is really interesting right now.
Yeah.
It's 47 active viewers on Meerkat, and I had 42 viewers on Periscope at the time whenever I clicked the button. So I think of that as part of what my community we're trying. I think this is an active back and forth. I don't think everyone has that ability, because I was early adopter from Meerkat standpoint.
Right.
So let's just kind of, as we're kind of wrapping up what we've been talking about.
Yeah.
From a standpoint of, let's talk use cases. From people that are looking for use cases for these technologies, that's the second most popular question I always get. I was working the brand yesterday, and they have a YouTube strategy. They don't have a Vine strategy or Snapchat strategy, but they truly do. They were looking to say, hey, how can I embrace this? And I spoke about use cases on both Periscope and Meerkat. But for the audience that's watching this, what are some of the best use cases you've seen from a brand perspective on using Periscope?
The only brand I know who has outwardly jumped into Periscope per se is Taco Bell, and they're great on everything. They have one of the best Snapchat channels. They've got the most creative people working there. They did, Taco Bell news or whatever. It was fascinating. You've got a lot of news shows. You've got, the Today Show, of course. Al Roker's on Periscope. A lot of the news affiliates. As far as personal brands, though, and if you look at the list, there's really only one brand, and that's Ellen DeGeneres, and she's on Periscope, but she's leveraging her fame from another source. That's one of the reasons I like Periscope, is you've got people on there who are not famous for anything else. And if you look at their Twitter, for example, Alex Pettit is the second or third most loved Periscope. He has 11 million hearts. He's got like 20,000 followers. If you go on his Twitter, I think he's got like 600 people on Twitter. These are not famous people who said to their followers on Instagram. This is not Kim Kardashian, who posted an Instagram of Periscope and said, "Join me here now for new selfies, haha." These are people who built their fame on a platform, and that to me is exciting.
I couldn't agree more. Actually, I love that. I think you have to almost disconnect the celebrities and the mass influencers, because they could literally fire up your old flip cam and probably stick it onto something and get people to come watch it, right? So like I agree with that. Actually, some of the brands on Periscope that I loved, the New England Patriots did a great job of streaming when they went to the White House. I thought that was really good. I'm a Pittsburgh Penguin fan. They actually stood in the locker room whenever the interviews were going around and interviewing the guests only on Periscope, which I actually thought was a genius way of doing it. Red Bull is another one that's done it really great. But my favorite of all of them, and I'll give a shout out because I did it so good. So Hootsuite, who from our social media management platform, what they did, and this is my philosophy, what I've been teaching, and I'd be curious for you to weigh in, and if you think it's good enough to, I think it's good for everyone to kind of figure out, is I say, from a brand's perspective, I say think like a fan. And what I mean by that is, how can I give backstage access, unique perspective, unique conversations. I think Mashable does a great job. Mashable gives it to different artists, I now know all of these. I've been reading Mashable forever. I now have a face and a voice to match with all of these bloggers that have been blogging on there for a long time. So I think those ones are great. Hootsuite is the best from a standpoint of what I watched them do, is they actually gave their account to a different person at a different location around the globe, and they called it Follow the Sun. And every hour you got to watch from a different location, different office of theirs. They would walk around and interview people, show the culture of the company, and actually then hand it off to the next one, right? And so it was passed around the globe, and they did it in a strategic way. And this happened 2 weeks ago, so they pulled that off 2 weeks early. So I think that from a standpoint of a use case, I thought that was genius, because too many people talk about culture, putting to a website, and the ability to actually show culture by using a tool like this, where it's that authentic, real. You can't really fake what's going on here. I thought that was some really good ones. Also, Meerkat has some really good use cases from the standpoint of not only how people, like you said, people are building their own personal brand, but some Vine stars, some YouTube stars, some Snapchat fans, they've actually been able to bridge over onto this medium, and I'm now actually connecting with them on additional platforms, which I think is kind of the power of both of these tools.
Yeah, and the Vine stars, I mean, that's the other benefit that Twitter has. You've got Vine stars, you've got niche, people that are with niche, and they were given this platform months in advance. Sarah Hopkins, I spoke to her about it at the Shorty Awards in New York. She got this months before everyone else. She played around with it. She uses it really well, and that's another reason that Twitter, I think, has a leg up. They've got the Vine stars already in their back pocket. I mean, they're basically Twitter stars already. And in the long run, that could be a help. As far as, the average user, it's experimenting and finding, like you said, the best way to use the platform. I have found that, I have a radio show that airs every morning. I've plugged in that radio show and broadcast it, but I found when I unplugged during the commercials, like you said, on SportsCenter, and I talk to the audience, and my co-host talks to the audience, they've told me, we like the in-between stuff even more. And that's the benefit. It's the access. Anyone on Periscope, everyone in the world has access to something. You just got to find out what you have access to and put that on Periscope. Put it on Meerkat if you want. That's where people are going to come find you. I was at the Players just the other day, 3 days before tee off, and Ricky Fowler's practicing on the green. I pulled out my phone because I had access that the rest of the world didn't have, and that's why people are going to flock to you. And everybody, it could just be your knowledge, but you know something, or you see something, or you have access to somebody that nobody else does, and we'll watch.
No, I agree. I love that we can both agree on that, because I think if you're not providing value, and yes, you're getting followers and hearts, and it's eventually that's going to wear out. You do have to actually, we all get 24 hours a day. If you're not actually providing true direct value to your audience, I've been very lucky. I get to be an influencer for lots of huge tech brands, and they send me around the world to go to these events. I'll be at IBM Amplify in San Diego next week, and I'll be able to see. I'm gonna have my own private demo of IBM Watson and its integration with Twitter. I mean, without question, I'll be live streaming that, because for me, it's like, hey, I can give my audience unique access into this tool and this opportunity that I have. I think that only does broadcast, and I also feel it's funny. I've never watched SportsCenter looking forward to the commercials until Periscope came out, because I literally can't wait so that I can engage the SportsCenter broadcaster. I think that's probably a good lesson from here, from the overall. So for me, I think this is. I love the discussion. I love that we can kind of debate it from a standpoint. I will be on both, and I'm a big advocate for the platform. So I know we both have probably spent a little longer than we randomly expected. You want to share any tips or tricks at the end here, or anything that you want to plug so that we can get that to the audience? Because I know my audience, I'm excited that I'm able to bring you to my audience, and kind of vice versa for sure.
Yeah, no, first of all, thank you so much. This was so much fun. I definitely think, what we're doing here is collaborating. And I tell people the number one way that you meet is collaboration. You cannot do it on your own. So when you said to me, hey, come on a Google Hangout and let's debate this, this is a great way to collaborate. I don't even know how many followers I got, hopefully a ton. I'm sure there's some followers with you. And we both hit a brand new audience today. That's the key to anything you do, whether it's Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, especially because it is so hard to find people. You have to collaborate if you want to grow your Snapchat. And of course, now Periscope and Meerkat. One of the most successful broadcasts I did was with a guy named John Ehrlichman, and we did a simultaneous Periscope in Times Square. And it was, to my knowledge, it was the first time anyone had done that, and it worked out brilliantly. Piggyback your broadcast. If you're going to do a Meerkat, get somebody to say, I'm going to follow you, and then jump back over them, go back and forth, and you're going to be sharing followers and building up, each other's credibility. So whatever you do, whatever your niche, don't look at other people as competitors. Look at them as collaborators, because that's exactly, you guys all need each other to survive.
Couldn't agree more. I love it. My social philosophy is what I use the hashtag show you care with the letter U, show you care. And really it's pretty easy when you show you and care, you value other people's opinions, the collaboration element, and that's truly the power of social, right? I mean,
Yep.
you know, I have a chapter in my book and it's, you know, we is greater than me. And it's truly the art of this millennial mindset, in my opinion, from the standpoint of we can collaborate and innovate faster. We can do greater things. We can affect more people. I mean, I was on after midnight last night doing with a Meerkat, going back and forth, and the amount of people that were in Russia that I was having in-depth conversations with, and the whole time in my head I'm going, I would have never had this ability if it wasn't for social or for apps like this. So I think that's truly is the art of it. And I think it's, you know, great storytelling. I think when it comes down to it, it's there's nobody better from a personal brand perspective than you to tell your own story. And if people can embrace that, find ways to tell their story, and if live streaming is one of them, I think it's awesome. So no, this is great. So where can people get a hold of you or reach you? You have a website?
Yeah, at Mark Kaye Show. It's MarkKayeshow at Mark Kaye Show. You can go there. You can download my podcast. I'm giving out T-shirts today, which is great. And then, of course, it's my Twitter and my Periscope are all the same, at Mark Kaye Show.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm the same. iSocialFans, so iSocialFans.com, iSocialFans on the Twitters. My podcast is called Smack Talk, SMACTALK, stands for Social, Mobile, Analytics, and Cloud. But yeah, I'm all about it. This was a lot of fun.
This was great. This was so much fun.
Like the collaboration. I would love to hear, you know, months down the road, they back channel and let us know that some of the features that they actually pushed through, they were actually able to listen to two people that are passionate about what they're doing and believe in the technology. So yeah, I appreciate it, my friend. And let's do it again sometime.
Hey, 6 months, we'll do it. We'll revisit it.
Let's do it. Sounds great. Have a good one.
Thank you, Brian.